And continue to do what you've been called to do, be it by God, be it by the universe, whatever it is that you believe in. You've been given certain traits. You've earned certain skills. You've been given a gift, all inclusive, that requires you to stand out amongst your peers in some way, shape, or form, in something, whatever that is. But once you start getting everything that you've been practicing for in private, finally now in public, it's going to take you to humble yourself, at the same time maintain that confidence so that you can continue doing what you do.
And they want to test you and see if you have the patience to respond to their antics, if you will. There's going to be words spoken about you when you don't even speak about these people. And that's another test. Do you respond to it? Or you just act like they don't exist? I mean, what do you think is, ask yourself, what would be more, what would bother you more? My response to you, or me just not acknowledging that you exist?
Roll me, Mac.
Do to reinforce their masculinity. Okay, not sure what other men do. I'll tell you what I do based on what I've learned from my mentors in the manosphere. Collectively, just everybody in the manosphere that practices masculinity on a daily. Well, one, read. Yes, study what masculinity is, what that means. Do your best to enforce it on a day-to-day basis. And watch your emotions. Be very mindful of how your emotions can control you mentally and how you respond to shit. You have to, as we say, mind the fucks you give daily. Protect your peace. You know what I'm saying? Again, a mantra I like to say a lot of times is mind the fucks you give. This is not one of them. And most of the time it isn't. It's like getting cut off in traffic. Okay, nothing to prove here. All right, what's done is done. That individual has something going on, essentially much worse than I do. That's my way of looking at it, and just let it be, and not even go there with them. Nothing to prove. The ego always has something to prove. However, the soul just is. So when you find yourself being tested, and the biggest test that a man will ever face is that of the female. A woman will test you in ways that you cannot even fathom. And it starts with your mother. I love you, mommy. But yeah, it starts with your mother and trickles way on down. But it's all about how you manage yourself. How are you able to manage the storm? How do you manage the emotions that are, that are brought to you? What do you do to calm the situation? And if you're not able to calm the situation, how do you leave the situation? But do not allow yourself to react emotionally when engaged. Do your best to react in the least amount of emotions when engaging with the opposite sex. As far as us and a man of spirit, that's what we practice, I would say, on a day-to-day basis. And that doesn't mean that you don't acknowledge their emotions. There's a way that you can acknowledge other people's feelings without having to be so dramatic and emotional towards them in response. Yeah, on a day-to-day basis, definitely staying in the gym, staying active, working out, meditation. Meditation is great. What I love about meditation is it reminds me what I'm not. When you sit there and be like, I'm the worst person ever. No, you're not. That's not true. That ain't true at all. You know what I'm saying? You're not the worst person ever. You're not that important, truth be told. That's what I love about meditation. Meditation reminds me how non-important I am as a human. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just human. That's it. That's really all I am. I'm not superhuman by any means, regardless of what, individuals may say about you. Not being superhuman. Yeah, you're just human. That's it. Just remembering to be human and keeping your mind set on just being human, but being able to respond to things, being able to speak in a voice that projects masculinity, being able to listen. Yes, being able to listen. Yes, that is a definite way of practicing masculinity, I find, is learning to listen the way a therapist does. To sit there, no matter what's being said to you, do not respond with your emotions and project you onto that person. That person came to you about what they got going on, not what your thoughts are about what they have going on. Like, it's okay for a thing to just be. You can just talk about something and I don't have to have an emotional reaction. Indifference. Practicing indifference. That's how you reinforce masculinity for sure. Every day is learn the power of indifference. Like, if somebody brings you something, yo, you ain't gonna believe what this person just said to me. They said, okay, how'd that make you feel? You know what I mean? Like, acknowledge them so that they feel seen, they feel heard, and know that they're loved, and then ask them how they're going to solve the problem. Because I'm damn sure not. I'm not solving your fucking problems. Don't make your problems my problems. I have no problem listening to what you believe is an issue. It's your thought on the situation that makes it what it is. It's just an is. If you understand what I'm saying. Our thoughts on the situation is much worse than what it actually is. Or yeah, it's just it is. All right, it's just a situation. That's really all it is. It's not a good. It's not a bad. It's just what it is. And once we understand that, we can act on it. How do we respond to this is? You have to respond to the is. How many ises do you have in your life? But we like to collectively, as people, both man, woman, like to make things bigger than what it actually is. We like to create the Super Bowl out of a regular game, in my mind, a lot of times. And that's what the Super Bowl is. The Super Bowl is just a regular game with a bunch of theatrics that draws people in and brings in a lot of money. But the game is played the same way it's played the rest of the year. However, my conspiracy theory would tell you differently, but that's for a whole nother show. That might even be a quickie. I think I might do that. I might talk about some of my favorite conspiracy theories. We'll see. Yeah. But how to practice and how to enforce masculinity every day. Like I said, maintain your frame. Definitely maintain your frame. There's a uniform to masculinity too, as far as what you're wearing. I mean, everything we wear projects a story, projects a message to whoever. And I'm sure, like, if you try to rap to a girl, you go up to a bar or whatever, rap to a girl, and I come up in a dress, you know what I mean, and trying to talk, I'm sending a message to the girl, and the girl is more than likely, depending on what she's into, stranger things have happened. But approaching the girl in a dress is not sending off a masculine message to me, just as much as a woman, that's dressed in masculine clothing, talks in a masculine form, is not projecting femininity to me. You know what I'm saying? And that over aggressive shit, it doesn't fly. It don't fly here in the manosphere. What we're talking about is opposites attract. So when you are trying to attract a masculine man, project yourself in a feminine way and ask yourself what it means to be feminine. You know what I'm saying? And who you're following is who you're following, where you're trying to go, as far as the sense of masculinity and femininity for both man with the masculinity and then for women with femininity. As the person you're following, the person you're looking up under, are they where you're trying to go as far as in the sense of femininity, to the highest point of masculinity or the highest point of femininity? But yeah, to enforce that on a day-to-day basis, calm mind, have a calm mind. So what I do to enforce my masculinity, I listen to instrumentals, scores, classical. That's probably I'm not saying I don't listen to anything else, but for the most of the day, when I'm at work, when I'm in the gym, I work out to Mozart, you know what I'm saying, Beethoven, and like it just composers and shit, because there's no words and it's just music. You know what I'm saying? It allows you to concentrate. And it was interesting at first. It was different because I was used to listening to rap, rock, you know what I'm saying, high tempo R&B or whatever. But then I started listening to that. I just created a playlist called Focus Mix Gym Edition, and it's just a bunch of like scores from movies I grew up watching, like the score to Hook, the score to E.T. when they're racing the bikes and stuff, the Transformers theme, the theme in Transformers, a lot of different sounds. Hell, even the song that plays when Splinter is talking to the turtles, by the campfire. That song, using that is inspiring, and I like doing what inspires me, what motivates me to move forward as far as like in another realm of masculinity, especially if it's something you didn't see growing up. It's fascinating to me. I'm fascinated by it. I'm challenged by it on a day-to-day basis. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain obstacles that a man who attempts to operate as masculine are going to face. You're going to be challenged by people who question whether or not it's solid or not, and they want to test you and see if you have the patience to respond to their antics, if you will. There's going to be words spoken about you when you don't even speak about these people, and that's another test. Do you respond to it, or you just act like they don't exist? I mean, what do you think is? Ask yourself, what would be more? What would bother you more? My response to you, or me just not acknowledging that you exist at all? And a lot of times that's what I tend to do. You no longer exist to me, and nothing personal. It's just protecting my peace, because you obviously have some issues that you're trying to project onto me, and we ain't here for the fuck shit. So, but like reinforcing masculinity comes in a lot of ways, but mainly just, again, the mantra of mind the fucks you give. This is not one of them. Protecting your peace, and as I said, remaining calm, being calm in chaos. That's what I would say is like one of the key forms of like reinforcing masculinity, is watching your frame, watching your emotions, acknowledging your emotions, but watching how you respond with them. Acknowledge them, feel them, accept them, but as far as what you interpret is what you're feeling, you know what I mean? But once you pause, once you get that emotion, that feeling, then make a decision. Then you can react after you pause, make a decision. Yeah, so like I said, watching your frame, watching your emotions, being calm in chaos will definitely continuously put you on a path to the life of living in your masculinity. How would you handle if your mother or kids didn't get along with the woman in your life. Truth be told, that shit don't matter to me. You know, we're just not gonna be disrespectful. That's it. On either side. I would treat it like that. It would be like high school where it's like, I don't fuck with, like, if I'm cool with that person, I'm cool with that person. As long as you motherfuckers ain't disrespectful to each other, that don't really matter to me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not able to force my mother to like anyone. I'm not able to force my daughter to like anybody. My godkids to like anyone. Hell, the lady I'm seeing, force her to like anyone. So, the thing that we have in common is that you motherfuckers love me. So, be respectful towards one another. Be cordial, you know what I'm saying? And leave it at that. I won't ever put you in a position where you have to say something fucked up about that individual, and I appreciate the same. But, it is what it is. But I mean, a situation like that, let me think. Have I ever been in a situation where my mother did not like a woman? Yeah, there's a few. But it's understandable as a mother. I mean, you walk in on a fucking 14-year-old laying in not in sheets, but on the bed. It's like it was all of us in the room. You know what I mean? Just hanging. But you see your 14-year-old son with his 15-year-old girlfriend, and they're just laying on the bed looking like a grown-ass couple. Yeah, you're gonna feel some type of way about that bitch. But yeah, or you hear about this girl getting snuck into your house, having sex in your fucking house with your son. Yeah, you probably feel some type of way about them. But from a grown person standpoint now, yeah, that shit don't matter, man. Like, their disapproval of whoever I'm seeing has nothing to do with my love for them. My relationship, those are 3 different relationships there. I have my relationship with my mother just as much as my brother has his relationship with my mother. Things that go on in their relationship may not necessarily go on in our relationship. The relationship I have with my daughter is the relationship I have with my daughter. Understand that she's going nowhere. That's for the woman I would be seeing, to understand. She's not going anywhere. And that's just what it is. But at the same time, I'm not going to have my kid just be disrespectful to anybody, for that matter. Not in front of me. You know what I mean? If I can help it, where everybody's going to be cordial to one another. That's how I see it. The same thing with the lady I've chosen. I would not choose to be in a relationship with a woman who I believe would be disrespectful to the woman that gave me life and who I had a part in giving life to. It's a thing. It's a respect thing. Like, we're grown. There's nothing to be proven, so there's no reason for us to have to be tearing down one another anyway. We can have disagreements because we don't see we don't see eye to eye on something, but I don't believe that's a reason to tear somebody down. It's just that we don't agree on something, and it's just learning how to debate. Like, okay, all right, well, I want to go to King's Dominion this year. Well, I actually want to go to Busch Gardens. We got an issue going on here. But I don't need to tear you down because you want to go to King's Dominion, or you trying to tear me down because I want to go to Busch Gardens, or another person jumps in and like, hey, you know what? I actually want to go to Six Flags. So there's no need for us to tear each other down. Let's just talk amongst each other and figure out what's going to be the common goal between us. That's what adults do. All right, adults discuss. Children throw tantrums. Like, this bickering shit stuff like you see on social media, like you see on reality shows. To me, that's toxic. That's toxic. There's no need to do that. We can just sit down and talk amongst each other. We don't have to out speak one another, yelling over each other. Let's just talk like adults and sort this shit out. And so everybody can feel heard. Everybody can be heard. It's not that deep. It's only communication. We make it harder than what it is. But just being able to talk to one another, I think, is helpful for us as humans to connect, to learn what each other is thinking. And if we don't like it, then we just don't like it. So for those people who wanted to go to King's Dominion, they can go. The ones that want to go to Busch Gardens, they can go. Like I said, if it's something like to where my kid wanted me to go here, that's it's a whole nother thing. We can have something separate to where it's just, again, it's more intimate between just, father daughter type thing, father son, you know what I mean, like that type of thing. But it's nothing to just try to project one's pain onto the other to sort out the situation. But I mean, if I had that issue, I would deal with it. I would deal with it like an adult. I would be the adult of the situation, and to ensure that we get to a healthy resolution of the situation. I'm not entertaining this shit. I'm not. If it gets to the point where we're acting childish, I don't care who the fuck it is, or I'm walking away from it, hands down. I'm very cautious about the type of energy that I allow myself to be around. So I would just remove myself from that. That's really what I would do. I would really just remove myself from that situation. Protecting peace. That's it. Protect the peace, and just be calm. Just be calm. Sort shit out, and play mediator if that's the case, because that's what leaders do. We mediate. We calm shit the fuck down. We get to a resolution without all that dumb shit involved. It's unnecessary. Let's just talk this shit out and figure out what's going to happen. So how would I address if my mother or my kid didn't care for the lady I'm seeing? That's pretty much how I would handle it. You know what I'm saying? We handle it like fucking adults, and just address the situation, not allowing anyone to be disrespectful to anybody. There's no need for that, because again, like I said, we're human. Let's ask ourselves: Are we kindergartners or are we adults? Talk shit out. We don't agree, then we don't agree. We can sort shit out from there. What did you struggle with the most during puberty? The most I struggled with during puberty was in class, and your then girlfriend's in the class, and there's other girls that are attractive to you are in the class. And I don't know if anybody's ever seen The Wood, where you get a heart. Mike got a heart on. He had just got to the school. And he saw, what's the name? Stacy's sister. I forget her fucking name off the top of the dome right now. But he sees her, and then Miss Jones calls Mike to the classroom, whatever the teacher's name was. He calls Mike up to the front of the class, and he had to take a science book or a book and cover his dick so that no one would see that he was hard as fuck. That was one of the hardest things to manage in middle school, was like getting a hard on and then having to get up in front of the class and do something. So it's just that part of puberty was like kind of wild. Another thing was the wet dreams, and waking up and your drawers are stuck to your fucking thigh, and it's just every morning, like, what the fuck's going on? But yeah, you would have these wet dreams and wake up, got the boxers. And back then I used to do weird shit. I don't know. I saw my cousin do this, and I'm airing us both out. We used to wear white briefs under our boxers. Don't ask me why, but that's what we would do. And I did it because he did it. Like I said, I tell people all the time, I thought, and that point in time, I still think Rich is dope. But as a kid looking up to somebody, it didn't matter what he did, I was gonna fucking do it. I just thought he was the coolest thing ever. So that's what we would do. So I used to wake up, right before school or weekend, whatever it was, and my dick was stuck to my damn drawers, every morning. So those wet dreams, and then random erections in class, looking at pretty girls. would you consider is the biggest seed a man can sow in a woman to encourage her to stay in her feminine? Well, the biggest seed I can do is teach her how to manage her emotions. Yeah, to calm her mind, because the female mind is constantly working. It's not to say that man's mind isn't working. I don't want to imply that by any means, but that woman, a woman that's really like truly into her feminine essence, she is like essentially like, again, backbone. You know, not pedestal talk, but yes, backbone as far as like having a there's a backup plan. You know, the effective woman is constantly working. She's thinking about shit, and she's thinking about shit while she's thinking about shit. You know, especially being, you know, the woman of her family. If she has kids, if she, you know, if she's got a husband, or if she has a wife, whatever it is, you know, she's constantly thinking on things of ways to pour into her family. So what I believe the biggest seed that I would be able to do is to teach her how to manage her emotions so that she can make better decisions on a calm mind, if that makes any sense. And that will allow her then, if a man is, to me, if I'm in my masculine the way that I claim to be, that woman is allowed to feel safe around me, safe enough to show her feminine side, not that shit that she showed y'all and the rest of the world, you know, when she has to protect herself to be tough, whether that be at work, whether that be with her friends that still be thugging, you know what I'm saying, still operating in their masculine. But when she's with me, she understands that things will get taken care of, and it ain't about to be a whole bunch of fussing and fighting shit. That shit you see in music videos, and no, that's to me, it's not healthy. It's not healthy to all that fussing and fighting back and forth. We're gonna talk, and we're gonna have feedback sessions. We're gonna talk shit out. We're gonna develop chemistry. We're gonna learn how each other responds in conflict. We're gonna recognize triggers. So the biggest seed that I would say that I could implant into the female really is teaching her how to manage her emotions. So that would require me to know how to manage mine. And yeah, so there's that. That right there it saves so much time. It really does. It saves so much time. I mean, if you were to be rattled and, you know, shaken all the fucking time, and you have to make a decision, would you make a better decision shaken and rattled, or would you make a better decision with a calm mind? It's just all about how you think about things. And that's just anyone, that's human, you know. But when you have an individual like a woman who's like constantly thinking, developing their own sense of anxiety, self-sabotage, if you will, especially if they've been through some shit and had this means of trusting, because, you know, they wanting to love and wanting to be loved, and then feeling like, you know, that you truly have it in this individual, only to learn how flawed they are. And then you question your own self of what you're able to recognize in people. But truth be told, the only love you can control is the one you give, not the one you receive. And I believe it comes and goes like in waves, like the ocean, as far as the love that you receive from individuals, because most people are battling something bigger than you even can fathom in your mind. So it's just best to not make anything about you. But when that woman is a lot more calmer, she makes better decisions and she can execute. When that man is calm in the mind, he can also make better decisions. He gains confidence. He can he can decide on this thing. He's able to withstand these emotions that are coming at him, recognize it's not about him, and then decide how he wants to respond to it. I see that seed of, again, just teaching one how to manage their emotions goes much further than the surface, if you will. I believe that it just allows people to connect. It allows people to feel much safer and much calmer. You know, like if you're at war and there's guns and there's explosions going on and your general is just sitting there like indifferent, you're gonna feel a lot more confident about what you're doing. But if you're at war and you hear guns going off and, you know, like bombs and grenades and all that shit, and your general looks like Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, you're not going to have confidence in him, let alone in yourself. And like, how are we going to get out of this shit? But practicing how to manage your emotions is, I think, the biggest seed that a man is able, well, to me, one of the biggest seeds that a man can plant into a woman for to remain in her feminine is allowing her to feel safe enough to even be in it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're, the reason for the masculinity is protection. Same reason with us. You know what I'm saying? As men, we use masculinity for protection. But if you were raised by your mom, quite often, like a lot of us were, you feel safe. You know what I'm saying? So you don't tend to feel the need to like protect unless something really bad happens. And then there's like a trauma response to protecting your mom. But for the most part, you're just like, oh, well, you know, my mom's got everything figured out. So, and then you grow up being attracted to a woman who acts just like that. You know, you're attracted. That's what you find to be home. So you get those butterfly feelings when you get around that, and something about you gives that woman butterfly feelings. But then you guys get in relationships, and all that honeymoon shit go out the door, and then she learns that you don't know how to lead. So what happens now? I'm going to operate my masculine because somebody got to get the job done. And then you have resentment. It's like a slow building resentment from the beginning. She couldn't even see it. You couldn't even see it as a man. But if you don't have the skills to be decisive, to lead your tribe, whatever that is, whether that's your friend group, whether that's your family, or hell, even sometimes at work, if it's called for your position to make a decision and you don't make that decision, everyone is going to doubt you the next time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like learning to get these skills so that you can make better decisions, so that people can have confidence in you just by you having confidence in yourself. Fake it till you make it, if that's the case. But a woman that feels safe in a man's masculinity, he doesn't use it against her, she feels safe enough to bring out that damn feminine energy. And like I said, that to me, that's one of the sexiest things I've ever seen a woman do in my life. Especially if a woman is so used to being the fucking man, to having to put on the pants and whatever analogy that they use to show that a woman is operating her masculine. But she has the ability to turn that shit off and just be bold enough to be in her feminine energy, yo. Like, for real. That shit is, and like to the point where it confuses her friends and family. Like, hold up. Why you do that? Why you like that around him? You know, that type of shit. That, to me, that's one of the greatest compliments a man can ever receive, is when they know that she's commonly used to doing all the leading, all the, you know, decision making, but she trusts that man to do that. That to me is dope as fuck. You know, that's why you do all this shit, and knowing that you're doing everything you can to create peace, to maintain peace, to be, you know, to be calm in chaos. It builds character. It builds trust. It allows people to feel closer to you. And as long as you don't abuse it, you know, like, again, don't use your masculinity to tear a woman down, to tear a child down, to tear down your homies. That's another rule in the manosphere. We don't tear down other men. You can tell me this man has done this and that. Don't tear that man down. You don't know what that man had to go through and why he did what he did. Dead ass, you know. That's just what it is. It's a respect thing for a man, not so much the person itself, but it's a respect thing for men to really don't tear down anybody. Like, you know, oh, she's a whore. What are we proving? She's a whore because she likes to fuck. There's plenty of whores around you. Then that's for sure. They got. Was it Pornhub? Fucking, there's a gang of fucking whores watching whores. So there's that. You know, the kettle calling the pot black at that point. But I digress. All in all, we're all human. And that's what you learn. But acquire the skill. Acquire that skill. Put that skill into that woman that allows her to be in her feminine by letting her feel, letting her know that she's safe. Allow her to feel safe. That to me is the best seed, biggest seed, greatest seed, whatever you want to call it. One of the best things you can ever do for a woman is teach her how to manage her emotions so that she can feel safe enough to bring out her femininity. So there's that. We're at the end of this episode. Good night, kids. What's the longest it's taken to get over a woman from the past? The longest it's taken me to get over a woman from the past is 20 years. Yeah, probably 20 years or more. The reason why I say that is because I've never dealt with those emotions. If you're like the average person, I didn't pay attention to that shit. You just rebounded or you just waited till it got out of mind. But as soon as you got back in a relationship, that person was in a relationship with you. Every girl that I was ever with was in the relationship with me and the current girl. So it was just a big ass, big ass group party. And I would expect them, each of them, out of the current one. And truth be told, at the time, I was expecting them to be my mother. I was looking for my mother in each of those individuals. And I would, filter through them to try to find the perfect version of my mother. So I say, what am I, close to 40 now? Yeah, 20 or more, let's call it. I've been trying to get over the original woman. And not so much like forgetting my mother, but understanding that your engagement with your mother, with your father too, you know what I'm saying? They have this profound effect on how you foresee other relationships that you get into. Yeah, they had this profound effect on how you see other relationships that you get into. So I break up with, I don't know, let's make up a name here, Lisa. Let's say Lisa. I'm dating Lisa and I'm 11. Me and Lisa are dating, and what do we know about dating at 11? And then we just break up for whatever reason, whatever trauma we caused on each other. Then I get with, Darcy. I'm gonna call it Darcy. Yeah, Lisa, then Darcy. Darcy now, me and her are together, and now I'm anticipating her doing what Lisa did, that I didn't know how to manage. I didn't deal with those emotions then, so I'm anticipating that. All right, so Darcy leaves. There's no more Darcy. Here's Emily. Now I'm with Emily. Now I'm looking at Darcy, Lisa, and expecting that out of Emily. All because I did not manage those emotions. I didn't pay any attention to them. I didn't know how to do it. I was never taught to deal with any fucking emotion. I was taught to suppress them though. I can tell you that. That's one thing my family taught us how to do. We know how to push shit down and act like it doesn't exist, only to become volcanoes when we get triggered, and every emotion that we suppress comes out in the most unloving way. And until therapy, until getting closer with spirituality, until studying Buddhism and, the origins of Christianity, like all every religion without having an attachment to them, looking at what they're all saying. And then it's just about not having an attachment, So once I learned how to deal with those emotions, it has enabled me to now get on a path to where I possibly can heal from that and to not project that onto, a future woman, and because essentially they would be paying for their mistakes from the people from the past mistakes, and seeing yourself as seeing your wounded inner child in a relationship where they just feel like they're not seen, heard, and loved, and seeing yourself in a situation where you were not seen, heard, and loved, at that time. And then you get in this relationship trying to right the wrongs that happen in your youth, happen in your childhood, happen in adolescence, happen in early adulthood. And that person did not sign up for that. They didn't sign up to fix you. It did not. And I didn't sign up to fix them. But for whatever reason, based off of what we've seen, what the Matrix has taught us, I believe the Matrix has taught us to do, is that the person you're with is going to fix all the issues in which you had prior to this point. No, thank you. Nah, that's too much weight for anyone to endure. But what we can do is work on ourselves individually and then present the best versions of ourselves by doing so. But a lot of us think that that person is going to fix them. They make me happy. You know, they're responsible for my happiness. No, no one is. No one's responsible for it. Why would you give away that power? You know what I'm saying? The fact that I can control you. If I can control your happiness, I can do what the fuck I want to do. I'm the puppeteer. I have you. Dance, puppet. You move at my will at that point. Why would you want to give that power away? You yourself are too powerful to give that power away to somebody else. But if you grew up, you know, and you didn't have stable relationships and stuff like that, stable parenting and, you know, being able to manage your emotions, yeah, you freak the fuck out and you just want to latch on to everybody, you know, that you come across, be it friends, be it girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever. You try to latch on to that shit because you fear losing them. And then you become something out of abandonment. You people please. And you're afraid to lose whatever you deem to be as love. And you're willing to put up with any type of love at that point too. When you're wounded and your child is driving, you will put up with bullshit and call it love. You will. You truly will. Experience. You will put up with the crumbs. You will deal with having crumbs fed to you. Yeah, you will. And other people see it, but they got their own version of this shit. So there's no room. They have no room to talk. Most of us haven't seen a healthy relationship because we've never taught it. We just kind of been winging this shit. And of course, there's people that focus on what is a healthy relationship and all this stuff, like from, you know, psychology and human behaviors and all of that. But day-to-day shit, it's like you can be taught how to box, you know. When you get in a real fight, you're gonna forget about that shit because you're gonna go to what's been ingrained in you from the beginning. So it's tough trying to train yourself to a new program, to your brain. You know, you're training your brain on a new program by doing this. But yes, the longest to get over a woman, it's probably been a lot, you know, I say in the entire lifetime. And just getting over in the sense of the attachment, the unhealthy attachment to what is love. To me, love is not attachment. Fear is, though. Fear is very much attaches on, you know, because it's afraid of losing. But how can you lose something that you never owned? You know, love is not about possession. Love is about appreciation. And it's tough, man, especially like if you haven't felt this feeling in a long time. If you've never felt this feeling, you don't want to ever lose it. Yes, fear comes into play. And then you try to attach onto this thing, this person, whatever it is, this idea. And you really don't know how to move forward without it. You become that child again that feels like it needs a parent in order to function. But you're fine just the way you are. You're not incomplete. You're not broken. People come into your life to complement your life, you know, not to be the focus of your life. And their job is to not deal with your issues. Don't make your problems their problems. Truly, like the love you claim to have for them, deal with your shit. Love yourself enough and love them enough to work on your shit so that you can be a healthy form of you. And recognize your power in the process. Because if you're used to, I say for me, like my mom did a lot of things for me when I was coming up. So naturally, when I would date, especially like early adult, I had this unconscious assumption that a woman would do the same. But what is the how fair is that to that young lady when you try to pour all this shit on just because your mother let you pour that shit onto her? I mean, she was just trying to be the best mother she could be for you. Doesn't necessarily mean it was the most healthy thing to do for herself, let alone for her kids, but just not teaching them how to fish versus giving them a fish. You know what I'm saying? But that's where maturity comes in. That's where growth comes in, where you start to look to yourself to handle your issues. You don't look for external validation when you go through shit. You look internal for completion. And it's there. All the love you've ever needed has been inside you the whole time. Newsflash. That's it. Truth be told. Like, it's there. Everything you need to get over to the next hurdle is there. Could you save some time by having help from others? Sure. But is that reliable? The only thing you truly can count on is you. And it's your life. Nobody else is responsible for your life. The goals you have, the visions you have, it's not up to them. So when you don't get support on your goals, they got their own goals. You know what I'm saying? It's cool if, somebody can take time from what they have going on to help you do some shit, probably show some support or something like that, but you're not entitled to their support. So just be grateful, you know what I'm saying? Be appreciative of that. So saying all that to say that it took some time. It's taking some time, rather. I mean, I'm in a much better place than I was, I'd say 10 years ago, in the sense of like getting over something and not just turning to them to like come back and fix this shit, dealing with a woman, but learning to channel it yourself. And having accountability, being more responsible about what your part was in this too. But it wasn't just her. It wasn't just them. It was your ass. And that's where, again, I think that's where growth comes in. So what's the longest it's taken to get over a woman from the past? Entire life.